Hi guys, welcome to Simple Programming. In our previous example, we looked at how to use Redis as a messaging service. In this example, let us see how to use it as a database and how to use it as a cache. Before we move on to our example, make sure that you have downloaded the Redis and installed in your machine. You could download Redis through redis.io/download URL. Go to the downloads page and then scroll down. Make sure that you download the stable version and install it in your local machine. Let us create a Spring Boot application and add the Redis dependencies. The Redis dependencies are going to stay the same. You don't have to add any new dependencies or remove any older dependencies. For this demo, I created a model class, service class, a repository interface, and a configuration file. In the configuration file, we have removed the channel topic and the message listener beans as we don't need them for database operations. We are going to have just the Redis connection factory and the Redis template. Let's move on to the student repository. The student repository is an interface that is going to hold the method signatures for save, find. You can also add update, delete, but for this example, I'm going to have only save and find. And this is where the actual Redis database operations happen. In the student service, we have created a static variable student, which is the table name or it will be the key name to hold the value in the Redis. We have created an auto-write by constructor for the Redis template, which marks it as a mandatory dependency. We have created a hash operations, which is a Redis construct which can be used for Redis hash operations. If you want to see what are all the different operations provided by Spring Data Redis, you can take a look at the Spring Data Redis documentation. Here is a list of operations supported by Redis. So you could see here that there are a lot of operations available for you to use when working with objects using Redis template. These are available as part of the Spring Data Redis documentation. We have created a @post construct for initializing the hash operations for the Redis template. @post construct is an annotation which executes after Spring initiates a bean. So this is exactly what we need. Then we are overriding the methods available in the student repository and we are doing the regular hash operations inside the method. That is, inside a save, we are going to put the table name, we are going to set the student ID and the student object. Inside the find method, we are going to get the record by student ID. I'll quickly show the Redis controller and let's jump on to see it in action, how it works. So I have a simple Redis controller which is going to be my REST controller with request mapping /Redis. I've auto-wired the student service implementation here. There is a save student information and a fetch student information. Save student information is going to get a request body of student and the fetch student is going to have a path variable ID. If the ID has a value in our database, we are going to return the student object. Pretty much simple. Let us see it in action now. Okay, so I have the postman open here and I'm going to send a request with ID, first name and last name. Let us change the ID to 1000 and let us click on send. Okay, so the response is back, but the response doesn't have anything. We could see here 200 OK. So our request has successfully got delivered to the Spring Boot application. Let us see whether Redis has accepted this by looking at the Redis CLI monitor. I'm on the Redis CLI monitor. I could see that there is a hash set operation happened on a student object. So looks like Redis has accepted our request and stored it into the database. Now let us fire the get mapping and see whether we are able to retrieve the data or not. Let us fire this URL and let us see what response do we get from the Redis. Okay, so we have got the response back from Redis, and we could see the ID 1000, first name Sam, the last name Matthew, has been successfully saved in Redis and retrieved when wanted. Let us go to the terminal and let us look at the Redis CLI monitor what happened here. So you could see here that Redis has done a hash get operation to retrieve the corresponding student object. With this, we have completed an example of how to use Redis as a database. In our next example, we are going to look at how to use caching. To use caching in your application, first you have to enable the caching. Let's go to our primary application Java file and let's enable caching. Okay, so I have enabled the caching on the Spring Boot application. Now let us go on to the controller. So Redis gives you multiple caching operations that you can use effectively in your application. It gives at the rate of cacheable, at the rate of cache evict, and at the rate of cache put. Cache evict is removing something from the cache. An example would be delete mapping. If you delete a record, you want to delete that record from the cache also. So at that time, you can use at the rate of cache evict. At the rate of cache put is nothing but put mapping, that is updating the record. So when you update a record in the database, you update the cache also. Then we have the cacheable. Cacheable makes sure that the request that comes in and the response that goes out is cached in the caching memory, and when the next hit happens in the application, the data is retrieved from the cache and not from the database. If the data is not present in the cache, it will hit the database, it will get the data, store it in the cache, and then send the response. Let us try it out. The cacheable has multiple attributes that you can use. Let us try to use few of this. The key is going to be the ID. The ID will be the key for this cacheable. I need to have a value also. Let us name it as students. And then the last one is you can have unless operation. You can have cache resolver. You can have a condition there. There are a lot of things that you can really do it. And these things are operated using the Spring expression language. For example, let's say that if we want to cache only a particular result set with a particular range or a condition, you can do that here. Let me give you an example. Let's use unless and let's use the Spring expression language to map the result. It's going to be a result dot id which is less than 1200. The explanation is catch everything unless the result id is less than 1200. That means when an id comes less than 1200, right, it will not be catched. If it is greater than 1200, it will be catched. Okay, so for this, let us do one thing. Let us go to a postman and let us test it out. Alright, so the condition we have is 1200. Let me do one thing. Let me do 1199. Okay, I will send a request and I got a response 200. Okay, and then let's do one thing. Let's do 1201. Click on send. Okay, we got the response 200. Okay, let us take a look at our Redis CLI monitor. Okay, especially for this example, I thought two parallel windows will help to understand better. Okay, so we have the two requests that we sent earlier, that is 1199 and 1201, saved into our Redis database. Let us try to fetch those things. 1199. I click on enter. It does a hash get operation on the database and the response is sent back. Let's do a 1201. Okay, so when I did a 1201, it again gets the the object from the database, and you could see there is a difference here. It has set this 1201 into the cache. Now let us again try to hit the URL. It is directly fetching it from the cache. You could see here there is no hash get here. I'll show one more example. Again, I did a get. It gets from the cache. It is not hitting the database. It's getting from the cache. Let me do the 1199 now. It is directly getting from the database. You could see the difference, right, between actual hit on the database and the data retrieved from the cache. With this, we have come to the end of this Redis messaging broker, database, and cache example. I hope you would have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more such videos.